I want to share about a few things I've done in the cab of the vehicle. One of the first things I did was replace the standard head unit with this Sony double-din unit. This unit has CarPlay, which was the big attraction to me. Certainly I could play music, via other means, but being able to plug my phone in, I actually, instead of opting for the wireless CarPlay unit, I went with the one that was wired. I did that for a couple reasons, or a few reasons. One, it was less expensive. Two, I felt like it was likely that a wired connection was at least as reliable as a wireless, and probably more so. And three, I really liked the idea of plugging my phone in here in the console so that I have CarPlay, tucking it in, closing the lid, and I'm not tempted to mess around with my phone while I'm driving at all. So that was a safety consideration for myself and the other people on the road with me. A few other things I've done in here, I've installed a GMRS radio. I thought about communication in a few different ways, emergency communication. I initially thought about getting a ham license and having a ham radio for when I'm exploring more remote areas and doing the work ahead of time to configure the radio with the different repeater channels. I decided not to do that. I do have a group of folks that I like to go camping and four-wheel driving with, and they used to run CBs, so I initially invested in a handheld CB radio. That didn't work that well, and so I decided to go with GMRS because I thought the results would be better, and that group started transitioning to GMRS. I have it on a magnetic mount, so I remove this piece of trim, use a Forstner bit of the appropriate size to drill this out, and then epoxied this mount from the backside. So this magnetic mount is aftermarket. This is a Midland. It's the 20 watt or 25 watt, I believe. It's not the 50 watt that they have now. So this is the MA75. It works really well for just running around and communicating with my friends when we're at off-road parks. I mounted the radio actually in here. I think I can show you that simply enough. And I used an existing 12 volt outlet, which I wasn't using. I tapped into that rather than running cable directly from the battery. So it is mounted right here underneath. And I bought on McMaster-Carr the appropriate plug, so I can just plug that right in. Again, I used a Forstner bit for a nice clean installation. While we're here, a few other things I've done. This normally is a kind of cheap feeling vinyl, which is fine, but I got fancy over the winter and bought a leather replacement here, a kit, and this is also leather. This is the part that to me is the biggest kind of comfort and classiness, if you will, upgrade, because not only is this leather instead of the really cheap feeling vinyl, but I added some extra cushioning here. This was a little bit of a learning curve for me to get this nice and tight and stretched around, but I think the results are really pretty good, and I'm very happy to have spent the whatever it was, $150 on that. This is another thing that I did. So this is this option to have a sunglass or eyeglass holder. This is not something that came in the base model, so you can buy this either from Nissan still, I believe, or I believe I got this on eBay as a used part, and you can cut a little bit extra of your headliner and install this. And that sounds like such a small thing, but there's not a ton of room in here. I like things to be put away and pretty tidy in my vehicles. And so just being able to take something that's kind of bulky, like a sunglass case, and give it its own home actually gave me a lot of value. Other things I did early on was I changed out the bulbs in all of the interior lights for LEDs. I have red LEDs in most of the interior lights. Up front I have red here and white here. And it's quite a bit brighter than the standard incandescent bulbs that come in here. So when I open the doors, I have things configured that none of the front lights come on, but I have the center red light that comes on, and then the back light is red I can toggle on. And if I just need to fish around and find something in here, you know, my default will be the red light. But if I need extra light, I'll use the white light because it is quite a bit brighter. Also change out the shift knob. That's something I've always liked to do on manual transmissions, and I've had quite a few of them. Another thing I did, these are normally a chrome, and I'm not a huge fan of chrome in this kind of context. So I found these, I believe I found these on eBay, a black plastic version, and I swapped them out. The other ones work just fine, but I like having less chrome. If I could make one other change in the interior, it would be to somehow swap this out for either a black piece, or, you know, I would love to get like a really matte aluminum piece that would match this. If I was a machinist or someone really good with CAD, I would do something like that. The biggest spin that I've had on the interior, though, has been this seat. One of the things I really don't like about the Xterras or the Nissan vehicles of this generation are the seats. I don't find them comfortable. Part of that is because I'm taller, and so in the standard seats, maybe you can see it in this image, but this comes forward relative to the back of the seat much more than this. When I sit in the stock seat like this one over here, I am not supported well. Like only about 3/4 of my upper leg is supported, so the seat will cut off, you know, like here, and I'll get a bit of a pressure point here. This is a Schielmann seat. These are made in Germany. They are not inexpensive. This is the XXL version they make. I believe it's called the Vario XXL. I bought this from Schielmann USA, which is headquartered in, I can't recall if it's Washington or Oregon here in the States. I had very good support through them. I have had a little bit of wear here on this part of the vinyl, but they have sent me out at no cost to me a replacement piece here that I'll just need to have swapped in. You can see they do, you know, this needs to be cleaned a bit. But overall, I've had these, I believe, 1.5 years, and they've held up really well. And going on trips, it's just far more comfortable. It was absolutely worth, to me, the investment. Now, I didn't buy 2 of them. My partner, you know, is not as tall as I am. It's not a priority for her. And I think once I bought the seat, and then you have to buy the bracket separately from a different company to adapt it. I think all in, I was at close to $2,000 for this. So, you know, about the same amount of money I spent on the suspension refresh and upgrade. But again, for me, it has been worth it.